From a family of 7 siblings, I'm the only one that's deaf. Both my parents have passed on. My father was a big role model for me. My brothers and sisters, they're not able to sign. However, they understood deaf culture. For example, they know they need to tap me on the shoulder and maintain eye contact. Growing up, I learned how to be confident and independent. When I was in high school, the teachers, some of them, supported me extremely well. Growing up deaf in the hearing world and in the deaf world was different. In primary school, sign language was not recognized at the time that I was in primary school. 90% of the teachers were not able to sign. It was forced upon us to speak, and I failed many times because I struggled to pronounce many words. With subjects itself, I only passed because of visual aspects. For example, maths was easy for me because I worked with numbers, but not spoken languages. I struggled a lot with English as well. For example, pronouncing words that were not easy to identify, also with no picture to explain what the word was about. Writing problems had to be resolved, and it was resolved by educational outings. Then it became easier for me to write essays and stories based on what I saw about real life experiences. Having that opportunity to go out and learn and match that to what I learned in class. With a hearing aid, I obtained mine from the age of 2, and up until today I still use hearing aids. I started out at an oral school to improve my speech. At the age of 7, I was then moved to a deaf school, and that's where I learned sign language. Growing up, I've been using hearing aids. If my hearing aids battery goes flat, I feel very unbalanced. Prior to these hearing aids, I had the hearing aids with the mechanism at the back of my ear. At the moment, I use very tiny ones that just fit into my ear. It depends on the person as well. Not everyone prefers the similar style. So I've been for the past 35 years using different hearing aids. However, it doesn't give me full accessibility. I get full accessibility using sign language. Hearing aids are not enough for me to have full access to communication. For example, if I'm in a conference, the hearing aid won't assist me. I would need a sign language accessibility, and that will make it much easier for me to understand what is being discussed. I started learning sign language at the age of 7 at the deaf school. It was a big difference for me compared to the other children, because children that I encountered, they taught me signs, and it made me very excited for tea breaks and lunch breaks, etc., because I would interact with them, and that's how I internalized the language. It's very important that you meet deaf role models as well, because as a deaf child, they need to see people that are adults and that have gone through life but are also deaf and have access to that visual language. Prior to signing fluently in SASL, I used total communication, which was speaking and signing at the same time. I improved that through signing music. When I completed university, I then realized that I've been using total communication, and that's the completely wrong structure. After I then learned the correct structure of South African Sign Language, and that was through socializing with the deaf community, getting involved in many gatherings with the deaf community. right now, I'm able to use many different sign languages, international sign languages, deaf-blind tactile sign language, I'm able to do. When I was in school, we focused a lot on integration, for example, with the hearing schools. I wanted to have the same homework that the hearing schools had as well because I was open to learning much more. We wanted the same kind of exams as well. Specifically in high school, the focus became much more serious because we had to finish the curriculum and there was a lot of deadlines we had to meet. We had no choice in terms of choosing subjects, and that was the only limited thing that barriered me in terms of my career path. Because I always dreamed of becoming the first deaf doctor, I could not do so. Also, back in school, I was allowed to participate in many different activities, in a debating team on different issues, and we debated with hearing schools. We got involved in a lot of competitions, also with other mainstream schools. And that is where I learned how to build my confidence and also focus on my schoolwork. I got involved in youth leadership as well. I was an RCL representative of the learners in my class, and then I was also elected to be a member on the school governing body. And I learned so much from that experience in terms of leadership, finances, budgeting, because reality in life, those skills are not really taught, so I learned those skills through that experience. Today, I've achieved quite a lot through the experiences that I've encountered, and going back to what I experienced in high school and applying that to my career today. The teacher also taught us manners and behavior and what is the professional way or the correct way of doing things. Also bear in mind, I am a very socializing person and I built relationships quite easily with many different people. In school, when I was on the debating team as well as in sports, there's a lot of tension as there usually is. However, we learned how to be kind and polite and have a sense of sportsmanship as well. And we didn't feel like we were different to the other teams we competed against. There was no difference. When I completed university, I worked in an adult literacy campaign. At the campaign, we focused on assisting people that are deaf and had no reading or writing skills. They didn't have access to schools, or they left schools at an early age. And it was a literacy campaign. And through that campaign, I learned so many different things, sharing teaching methods and how to teach adults to read and write. I enjoyed the empowerment part of it. So far, it's been in process for 10 years, and we've been working with the deaf community. It's quite sad also that today we still face a high rate of unemployment in the deaf community and a low level of education, which still continues and still faces many negative barriers because of negative writing skills and vulnerable barriers that are not able for them to access education. I do feel that one day there will possibly maybe be an institution where the deaf are able to access education, especially those that have dropped out along the way, to improve their lives and improve their education. When I say negative, and what people mean by deaf having a bad future, that can only be overcome by both communities working together, and we need to make sure that there's accessibility for the deaf, that they get access to get good education, that they build a better understanding to improve on that.